The CoinWeek podcast is brought to you by PCGS. On Friday, October 13, 2017, PCGS will be holding Public Friday at the Grand Ballroom at the Holiday Inn at 2726 South Grand Avenue in Santa Ana, California. PCGS will be offering same-day authentication and grading, plus lot viewing of the Legend Rare Coin Auctions Regency 23 sale. In this episode of the CoinWeek podcast, we talked to 2017 ArtPrize winner Richard Schlatter, whose 96 square foot portrait of Abraham Lincoln, using over 24,000 Lincoln cents, earned him top prize and over $200,000 last weekend. Hi, Richard, and congratulations on your big win at ArtPrize. You must be astonished.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm still trying to recover from it all. It was I kind of had an inkling that I might do well in what we call the 2D category, which is two-dimensional. But the overall grand prize was not something I had expected to win. But it was very gratifying and exciting.
So tell me about your piece and how you came to design a giant Abraham Lincoln portrait out of coins.
Well, it's basically a portrait of Lincoln. It measures 8 feet by 12 feet. That's 96 square feet. It's pretty massive and pretty big. But to start to back up, last year, early this year, actually about January, I had a lot of pennies that I'd been saving and was rolling them to take to the bank, and I had them all laid out on there on the table, and I just was in kind of mesmerized by the different shades. You know, some of them were real dark, and some of them were light. Some of them there's 3 or 4 or 5 different tones and shades of copper. And I'm a graphic designer and an artist, so a lot of people would just see a pile of pennies laying there, but I saw all these colors that I kind of arranged by piles, by colors, and then I started playing around with it, and I kind of created this kind of a cool sunburst design, and that's when I got really thinking about what I could do on a larger scale to create the detail, and I've been a big Lincoln fan, so Lincoln's face is right there on his profile on the penny. So my thought was to create a large portrait of Lincoln using the different shades of pennies to create the image. So at that point, I went online and I downloaded a couple photos of Lincoln and started playing around with it on my computer, and that's when I came up with a size of 8 feet by 12, because I did it 8 inches by 12 inches, so I just used the 1 inch to 1 foot scale. And it just kind of was an idea that kind of just took off. At that point, I realized that this might be a perfect entry for ArtPrize. ArtPrize is the world's biggest art competition, and I've been to it a couple times, and there's so many paintings and different sculptures, but everything seems to be the same thing every year. And I wanted to create something that was totally different, maybe a little bit, out of the box that no one has seen before. So that's when it all started, and it just, like I say, kind of took off from there. And so I started getting, instead of taking the pennies to the bank, I went and bought more, about $25 worth of rolled coins, and I was started sorting through them by color and put them in different buckets. So I had like all the dark ones and light ones and middle tone ones, and sorted by color. And that's when I decided to do the portrait, and I started actually working on it in February of this year, and set it up in a factory here that gave me the space to do it. So, yeah, it took about 3 months, worked about 500 hours on it.
This is obviously a mammoth piece, so it must be incredibly heavy.
And it's massive. The board that I actually had a gentleman construct it, and it's 3 4-by-8-foot panels that are tied together with long steel struts on the back about a foot apart. It weighs over 400 pounds. The weight of the pennies is about 140, so the actual backboard, I think, is close to 300 without the pennies on it.
I would have to think that the size of your portrait must have posed a challenge due to the fact that you have to be some distance away in order to see the image of Abraham Lincoln emerge.
The way I have a brochure I put together, I tell people when viewing the piece, it's kind of neat to stand right in front of it, like a couple feet away, and just look at all of the colors of the pennies. It's kind of like just a mosaic or an abstract piece of art, and just slowly back up and keep backing up, and when you hit about 10, 12 feet, the image kind of emerges, and the further back you get, especially at about 20, 25 feet, you kind of squint your eyes, and it kind of diffuses it a little bit, and it almost looks like a photograph. It's that detailed.
What was the reaction from the visitors in attendance? Obviously, you won the big prize, but did you get any personal feedback from any of the visitors?
Oh, yeah. Especially yesterday and today after it was announced that it won the grand prize. The crowds were just incredible. People were lined up just to get up to see it. They had it kind of roped off, so you had to kind of come in and single file and then view it. And I had people tell me they heard about it, and one lady was from Cadillac, one came from Traverse City, Detroit area. They drove over just to see it, that they had heard about on the news, or friends were telling friends, and there was quite a buzz around Grand Rapids, and everybody was like just thanking me and telling what a great tribute it was to Lincoln and the message of Lincoln. I think that's what really resonated with people, is that they're so fed up with the crap that's going on now in Washington and the political climate that it just kind of Lincoln represents something that we're kind of lacking right now.
Well, the political climate in Lincoln's day was pretty hostile too, I imagine.
Yeah.
Were there any unusual scents that you used in your composition?
Well, first of all, in the shirt area and his collar, I used a total of approximately 1,700 1943 steel pennies. I bought from a coin dealer because they're pretty hard to find. I mean, to just find that many. And a lot of people, it's surprising how many people didn't even know they existed. They'd come up and look at it and say, well, what'd you do to change the color or make them that color? Some people from a distance even thought maybe they were dimes or nickels. So when I explained to them that's the actual color and explained why and the year, they are really surprised, and I think that kind of adds a lot of interest to it. In fact, I tell them that all the pennies in there, including those steel ones, are all their natural color, even the copper ones. I sorted through about 60,000 pennies just to get enough of the different shades, especially the real darker ones. So I think anybody over 65 or 70, they knew. They said, yeah, I remember those. My dad used to save them, or everybody that's older has a few laying around that kind of been passed down, but they're not worth a whole lot. I think back then people thought they would be someday. That's why they were saving them, but on average, of course, they're not really all that valuable.
So what's next for your piece?
Well, right now I'm working with some local folks here. We'd like to bring it back to Battle Creek for a short term. A lot of people here would like to see it. We have the Kellogg Foundation headquarters is located in downtown Battle Creek. They have a big, beautiful headquarters there. And I just got off the phone with the CEO of the Battle Creek Foundation, and she's working with some folks to bring it back to Battle Creek to perhaps put it on display down there. I can't do anything as far as a permanent selling of it until after ArtPrize is over next year. They have a stipulation in the agreement that if you win the grand prize, that comes back up there to be put on display during ArtPrize next year. So unless it is sold to a museum or moved somewhere permanently, it would have to be in the stipulation that it would have to be moved for a short term up there and then back to where it goes. But immediately, I'm just trying to get it back to Battle Creek for a while so we can put it on display here until we can find a permanent home for it. I'd really like it to be in a museum somewhere where people can see it and enjoy it.
So with the success of your Lincoln portrait made of coins, do you plan to do any more coin-related art?
No, I really don't. It isn't. It just was an idea that happened and was successful, but I'm already moving on to the next project that doesn't even have anything to do with coins. It kind of involves presidents. In fact, really all of them. I'm like I said, a graphic designer, so I work on the computer a lot, and I'm kind of playing around with an idea of creating portraits of the presidents using their inaugural address and doing it all in type, a typographical portrait, if you will, with different weights, like light and dark, and different shades of typography to create the image. And it's kind of coming along, but it's going to take maybe a couple of years to complete. And then they will all be on one big, long print, maybe about 15 to 20 feet long, that would be like a collage of all those images on one, in one piece.
Well, good luck with that, and congratulations on the big win.
Sure. Well, I appreciate that. Okay?
Thanks. If you like this podcast, please share it with your friends. And remember, you can download all 80 episodes of the CoinWeek podcast for free from the iTunes Store. For CoinWeek, I'm editor Charles Morgan. Until next time, happy collecting.